Hey everyone, how you all doing today? 2 minutes in the box with Gordo, March 6th, 2025. Today we're going to be recapping last night's games, the standing updates, previewing tonight's tariffs could affect the NHL, trade rumors, signings, Ovechkin, you name it, we'll get to it. All right, first off, let's talk about last night's games. We had five games last night, and what a game for the Washington Capitals. Coming back 2-1 deficit. Ovechkin tying the game, and he is getting closer to Wayne Gretzky. He's 9 away, tying the great one, and he's 10 away of breaking the great one. And Ovi came in clutch. It was a heck of a game. And Tom Wilson seals the deal. And here's an underrated player, Dylan Strome, 43 assists. The Washington Capitals revitalized his career. They rejuvenated him. There's a reason why he was the third overall pick in the 2015 draft. Arizona failed him. The Blackhawks gave him a chance, but they let him go. And now look what he's doing with the Washington Capitals. Simply unbelievable. And now let's get over to the Ottawa Senators and the Chicago Blackhawks. Heck of a game for Brady Tkachuk. As usual, he played well. Overtime winner, Stutzel 13 game point streak. This is an unbelievable Ottawa Senators team, and they are creeping up on the standings in the wild card spot. Just simply spectacular. The Blackhawks, yet again, they lose, and their chances of winning the lottery have slightly gone higher. And Ryan Donato's stock, though, 23 goals so far this season. Just simply wow. We're talking about a potential first round return. Tomorrow's trade deadline is going to be interesting. And we're going to see Ryan Donato, see if he's worth the first round pick that the Blackhawks are trying to get out of him. Just an unbelievable overtime thriller right there. And we go over to the Maple Leafs and the Vegas Golden Knights. First 4 seconds, you got to love it. Matthew Nice dropping the gloves and Wes McCauley doing his signature call. And I got to say, this right here was a unique game for the Vegas Golden Knights. And Vegas increasing their division lead in the Pacific. And Toronto, they are now dropped to second place in the Atlantic Division. So they're tied with the Panthers, but the Panthers now have a game in hand. And looking at these numbers, Vegas is ready. They are ready. 74 points so far this season for Jack Eichel. And White Cloud and Knives, we talked about the fight 4 seconds in. It was a great fight. And Vegas, they could be a dangerous team in the Cup playoffs again. They could be a dangerous team in the Cup playoffs. All right, we go over to Anaheim and Vancouver. Cutter Gauthier, he's springing up a bit, but like he's becoming a player. He's finally learning the system and learning how to be a professional. And Vancouver, they played well. They're getting close to their playoff hopes. I just think it's a little too late, but you never know. Sometimes it comes their way or the other way. DeBrusk's been playing well, very impressive indeed. And Vancouver's got a lot of questions in the offseason. Anaheim, they could have gotten those two crucial points there. I know they're still in it. They're still in it. But, competition is getting a little bit crazier by the moment. And Brian Dumoulin, he just scored his last goal as a Duck, and he was just traded to the New Jersey Devils. We'll get to it. And St. Louis and LA Kings, the Blues winning in overtime in a shootout. And I'm going to say, LA did get that crucial point there. They did get some crucial points. But St. Louis getting those two valuable points is very important in the standings. And we'll go to the standings right now. So We mentioned a minute or two ago that the Florida Panthers and the Toronto Maple Leafs, both with identical records, with both points percentage and stuff. The Panthers have the advantage in the Atlantic Division. Tampa Bay Lightning, they are 3 points behind the two top teams in the Atlantic Division, the Florida Panthers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. And then in the Metropolitan, you've got the Washington Capitals running away with that division, and you've got Carolina with 76 and New Jersey at 72. New Jersey, they're in trouble. They are in trouble because losing Jack Hughes for the rest of the season and losing Dougie Hamilton, it doesn't help. It doesn't help the New Jersey Devils. And you've got Columbus 4 points behind them. And New Jersey better do something at the trade deadline tomorrow or even today. They got to get something done because Columbus is creeping, and Columbus better be saying a prayer because Ottawa is a point behind them for the top wild card spot. And even the Rangers, they got a point out of it, but they still lost. And Ottawa is back in the playoff mix. The Red Wings and the Canadiens and the Bruins and Islanders, they want that. They want to be in the playoffs. They want to be in the playoffs. All these teams have got to do is that they need to get into that final wild card spot or the first wild card. It's gonna come down to the wire. It's gonna come down to the wire. The Red Wings, they got to get something done at the trade deadline. Montreal, they made a bold move with Jake Evans. Boston making some interesting headway. The Rangers, I'll say this, the New York Rangers are a team that wants to be in the playoffs. Last year, they were the President's Trophy winning team. This year, it's like they're barely holding on. That November and December stretch really put a damper on that squad. They really, really did. And the Red Wings, they're close, but they got to get something done. They're in a funk lately. They got to get something done at the trade deadline. And now, even the Western Conference, now you've got the Winnipeg Jets running away with 88 points. They're still the top team in the NHL. Then you've got Dallas at second place, and then Minnesota at third. The grounds, the grounds are very stable for the Wild for now, but Colorado's creeping up 74 points for the first wild card. And you've got Vegas, 80 points, 74 Oilers, 71 Kings. The Kings are 3 points behind the Edmonton Oilers. LA needs to get those valuable points so they can get somewhat home ice advantage in the first round. The Oilers are maintaining what they've got. But, tomorrow, trade deadline is going to be very crazy. But it's going to be a weak market. It's going to be a weak market, but you never know. Some of these moves can make a hit or miss. It's always a consequence and sacrifice with these draft picks, free agents, all that. If the player's gonna stay or go. And Colorado, they are creeping 1 point. They're a couple points behind the Minnesota Wild. And Calgary and Vancouver, they both have 67 points. They're tied for the final wild card spot, but St. Louis, they creeping. They are a point behind for the final wild card spot. And Utah is 4 points behind, and they're back in the spotlight tonight. And Anaheim getting those not getting those 2 points. They're still in it. They're still in it. And I've got to say, this right here is going to be a crucial moment for the rest of the week. Tonight, tomorrow, and even to Sunday, we are going to see some geographic shifts in the NHL. We're going to see some movement, but it's going to be a weak trade market. It's going to be a weak trade market, but we're going to see some anticipation with the rest of the regular season. Some of these teams have 20, 22 games left on the calendar. This is going to be fun. All right. This is going to be fun. And we mentioned Alex Ovechkin. He is so close. I predicted Alex Ovechkin will break Wayne Gretzky's record on the 18th of March, 2025 against the Detroit Red Wings. It will happen. Mark it on your calendars. Mark my words. It will happen on this day. All right, let's get to the signings, rumors, etc. So yesterday we missed out on some unique breaking news after we turned off the camera for the rest of the day. We have some interesting rumors that the Boston Bruins put Jordan Osterl on waivers. And then Jesse P. is signed a 1 year, two-way deal with the Florida Panthers, and he could be eligible to be on the Florida Panthers roster. And then you've got former first round pick of the Washington Capitals, Jacob Vrana, placed on waivers by the Capitals. And then Christian Fisher, former Arizona Coyote, also placed on waivers by the Detroit Red Wings. And Kiefer Bellows assigned to the Milwaukee Admirals Nashville Predators farm team. Cam Atkinson reassigned to Syracuse. And we've got this trade. A coin who was acquired by the Lightning from the Red Wings, acquired for a fourth round pick, was part of the Yanni Gourde deal. So the Red Wings and the Lightning and the Kraken split three ways of their contract and the salary cap. We're seeing some very, very interesting segues. And then we've got Jordan Greenway signs a 2 year, $8 million deal with the Buffalo Sabres. Smart move. And Ben Myers recalled by the Seattle Kraken. And Cam Dineen called up by the Oilers, Mac Jones, and Utah Hockey Club, very busy this morning. This morning, Alex Kerfoot, 1 year, $3 million deal. Ian Cole as well, 1 year, $3 million. And a 5 year contract extension for Kerry Vejmelka for the Utah Hockey Club. He's been spectacular in net so far this season for Utah. He looks very good. And we had a trade that went down about an hour ago. Brian Dumoulin going to the New Jersey Devils from the Anaheim Ducks for a Herman draft and a second round pick in 2025. And we've got a 3 year entry level deal. Julian agreed to the Winnipeg Jets. Chris Drieger sent to the American League. And Tyler Pitlick, 1 year, two-way deal, Boston Bruins. And this has been a interesting morning, shall we say. Very interesting morning, shall we say. And Utah, they are a team that is, committed to the future. And I like the Kariya Vejmichka contract extension. He is definitely a number one goalie for the Kraken. Cole getting that 1 year deal. Same thing with Kerfoot. It's a low risk deal. It's a low risk deal to say the least. I like the deal that happened. And we also had some interesting trades. So the Penguins were busy yesterday. Penguins trading Vincent Desjardins to the San Jose Sharks, and then they acquired a fifth round pick in 2028. And the Pittsburgh Penguins traded Michael Bunting and a fourth rounder to Nashville for Luke Schenn and Tommy Novak. Yeah, I gotta say, I don't know what the hell the Pittsburgh Penguins are doing with this one. I gotta say, those two are definitely gonna be flipped today or tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, Luke Schenn to the Penguins. Why? Why Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh is out of the playoffs. They gotta trade those two tomorrow. They gotta get some pieces in return. It's just embarrassing to see. Yeah, very embarrassing indeed. And I want to recap the trade for Seattle and Tampa. And Detroit was in it yesterday. So Yanni Gourde and Oliver Bjorkstrand from the Seattle Kraken to the Tampa Bay Lightning, Kyle Coyne, and a fifth round pick 2026. Seattle acquired Michael Esmont, 50% of Yanni Gourde's contract, a first in 2026, a first in 2027, and a second in 2025. And the trade Red Wings acquire a conditional fourth round pick and retain Jan Gorge 25% of his contract. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, that's gotta be something you gotta be intrigued by. You gotta be intrigued by these moves. And overall, we're going to have to see what happens. But Tampa Bay, what they saw with Florida, what they did, they got Seth Jones and Vantek Vanacek. I mean, the Tampa Bay Lightning said, oh, it's on. And I would not be surprised those two teams play against each other in the first or second round of the playoffs this year. I just have that feeling it's going to go to 7 games this time. It will go to 7 games. And the Battle of Florida is a signature of the NHL. It's the number one signature in the signature rivalry in the NHL right now. You just got to love that. You've got to love that. And we got to go with previews for tonight's games. And we got some good ones. We have a lot of good ones. We got 9 games. 9 games, and I'm intrigued and I'm excited for this one. First up, we've got Utah Hockey Club against the Detroit Red Wings. Red Wings and Utah are trying to get into the playoffs, and both of them are. And the Red Wings, they got to catch up with Ottawa and the New York Rangers and the Columbus Blue Jackets. They got to catch up. It's crucial right now. It's go time. The Red Wings, they've got to get something going. Trade deadlines tomorrow. They've got to get someone to make an impact to help them get into the playoffs for the first time since 2016. The Red Wings, I gotta go with Detroit on this one. Utah, it's gonna be close. I'm going with the Red Wings, but Utah, they're feisty, they're competitive. They are looking to get into the playoffs for the first time in their history. The Arizona Coyotes, it doesn't count. The Arizona Coyotes will be back in the NHL in 4 or 5 years from now. The Coyotes went to the playoffs in 2020, but this might be Utah's first ever Stanley Cup playoff appearance. So I am going to go with Detroit. It will be close overtime. Then you've got these Buffalo Sabres and the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight, which is going to be on ESPN. Sabres, they are in the downwards. The Lightning, oh, Tampa Bay, they're loaded. They're ready. I'm going with Tampa Bay. They are going to be creeping up on that Atlantic division. They are very close. They're 3 points behind Florida and Toronto. So you've got Columbus and Florida. Columbus, they are first wild card and 4 points behind the Devils for third place in the Metropolitan. They are desperate. They want to maintain the lead in the wild card spot. Florida wants to maintain their lead in the Atlantic Division. I'm going to go Florida. They're ready. And it's a sort of a reunion. Seth Jones and Sergei Bobrovsky playing against their old club, the Columbus Blue Jackets. I'm going Florida Panthers. Then you've got Winnipeg Jets and the Philadelphia Flyers. Philly just beat them this past Saturday, and I'm going to go Winnipeg. Winnipeg, they're due for a win, and they want a little payback what Philadelphia did to them on Saturday. I'm going to go Winnipeg Jets on that one. And then you got Boston Bruins and the Carolina Hurricanes. Carolina, could this be the end for Mikko Rantanen? Mikko Rantanen, there's been trade talks potentially tomorrow to any sort of team. And we'll have to see what happens because Mikko Rantanen has been nonverbal committed to staying in Raleigh would for 8-year contract extension, but he wants to make more money. He doesn't want to be in a mid to small market. So tonight's matchup, I'm going to go Carolina. Carolina is the team that wants to increase their lead in the Metropolitan in a second place position. Now you got the Seattle Kraken and the Nashville Predators. Both teams are outside looking in. They're both sellers at this point. I gotta say this is an under the radar, underrated game. I'm gonna go Seattle on this one. The Kraken are gonna be winning this one. I wouldn't be surprised. Then you've got Calgary and Dallas. And this matchup here, I really am intrigued. I'm going with Dallas. Dallas, they're gonna be adding some more arsenal, but Calgary, they're still clinging on for that wild card spot. It would be nice, but Dallas is more the superior team in this matchup. But it would be nice to see Calgary get another point out of it because Vancouver is idle tonight. So I'm going Dallas shootout. Then you've got Edmonton and Montreal in Edmonton. Cole Caulfield, he's a 40 goal scorer. He is just an unbelievable player. And the Oilers, they need to reload because they want to get back into the Stanley Cup playoffs and the Cup finals. They want that revenge. It's a good matchup between those two great Canadian markets. I'm going to go Edmonton because they got humiliated by the Ducks the other night. The Oilers, you've got your weapons with Draisaitl, McDavid. It's going to be a bloodbath, but I'm going with the Edmonton Oilers. And finally, we've got the San Jose Sharks and the Colorado Avalanche. An interesting matchup indeed. You've got Georgiev and Blackwood both traded for each other earlier in the season. It's an easy Colorado over San Jose. But San Jose, they've got some up and coming young stars. But I'll tell you, Nathan McKinnon is going to be balling out tonight. I wouldn't be surprised he's a 2, maybe 3 points against the Sharks. I'm going to say mainly assist on this one, but I might go 1 goal, 2 assists for Nathan McKinnon's matchup tonight. And don't forget, this one is on ESPN. And don't forget, tomorrow we will be live streaming on Instagram, YouTube, Rumble, etc. for the NHL trade deadline. We're going to be live, keeping up with all the resources and sources from all over, from ESPN, TSN, Sportsnet, NHL, you name it, because this is going to be a long but exhausting, fun day of NHL trade deadline mania. It's March Madness, people. The bracketology, you name it. It's going to be one hell of a day tomorrow, and we'll be doing the recap still and previewing Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays games as well. And this is going to be an exciting night of hockey, everybody. This is going to be one exciting night of hockey. And I want to say we got some interesting developing stories before we go. There's been some interesting story that John Gibson is not going to be on the trade market, weak trade market. And I think it's a smart move. I mentioned this yesterday. Keep John Gibson because the Ducks are still in the playoff hunt, and, figure it out in the offseason. That's what I would do. And right here, so we are hearing that Mika Rantanen could be going to the Florida Panthers. And I don't think this is a smart move because, he's a high rental risk. I mean, we got Claude Giroux. The Florida Panthers got him a couple years ago, and then the Panthers, they ended up losing the second round. I just think Rantanen's going to go west. I got to say it's going to be Dallas or LA or Anaheim. He wants an 8-year deal, and he is a player. I think he's talented, but I just worry that if any team signs him to a big contract and he's underwhelming, we're all going to be like, it was the McKinnon effect after all, huh? Yeah. And then we've got an interesting story with the Winnipeg Jets are willing to present Brock Nelson a big trade. I gotta say, Brock Nelson, he's gonna stay as an Islander. The Islanders need center depth for the next several years because they need to build, build, build. But it's tempting, though. It is very tempting. And then there's also talks with, New Jersey, Colorado, Minnesota, and Toronto for Brock Nelson. Whoever presents a good deal, gets Brock Nelson. But I say Brock stays on the island. And then we got Ricard Raquel with Vegas Golden Knights. Then we've got Brock Besser, Braden Shen, and Ricard Raquel. He's a 35, 40 goal scorer. He has had a nice bounce back year. I personally go with that he goes to a team that needs a goal scorer now. And then you've got, and going back to Ricard Raquel, it's very high. I think Florida's out of it. I feel Vegas, they're willing to do anything because they don't care about them draft picks. They do not care about those draft picks. And Vegas is definitely, like I said, reloading, and they are not going to take anyone kindly. And then you've got Braden Shen and Scott Lawn, Toronto Maple Leafs. One of those two. I think Toronto needs more grit. I'm going to go with Scott Lawn on this one. And then you've got Brett Clark, the defenseman for the LA Kings. Man, why is he on the market? I thought he was going to be the man going to be taking over Drew Doughty once Doughty is gone. He's just entitled. I would love to have this kid on my team. He is definitely a good backbone, but any team is willing to lose some draft picks is an idiot. But LA would be stupid to trade this kid. I would keep him, but Dowdy, he wants to still play, but this kid thinks he's ready for the minutes, the responsibilities. Go ahead. Go ahead. Any team. I don't care. I wouldn't be surprised he ends up going along with Quinn Byfield to Carolina. I would not for Rantanen. I wouldn't be surprised that trade goes down. And then you've got Brock Besser. I mean, it's going to be a lukewarm below market value. Minnesota needs help. I'm going to go Brock Besser going to the Minnesota Wild. And Besser, like I said, he's not going to get that contract extension for the Canucks. He is going to be a Minnesota Wild by tomorrow. And we were mentioning earlier that Ryan Donato is his value is at an all-time high, and the Blackhawks want a first-round pick. Man, if I were a team that is willing to lose a first-round pick over this guy, it seems a bit too much. It's a bit too much. It's out of the ballpark. I am very uncomfortable trading a first-round pick for a third, fourth liner who's gotten 24 goals so far this season. And what if he regresses next season and beyond after that? I wouldn't trade a first round pick for Ryan Donato. And you've got like we were talking about Braden Shen. It's gonna take some deal, some miracle for the Blues to make this trade happen. It's gonna be a miracle. And then we're talking about Claude Giroux now. Claude Giroux, love the guy. Ottawa and him contract negotiations stalled, and I would love for him to finish his career with the Sens, but the Senators right now they're fighting for a wild card spot. I got a feeling that he returns with the Senators next season on a 1 or 2 year contract, and I don't know if his value is worth it, but I mean, if a team was willing to get him, I mean, hell, I mean, it wouldn't be funny if he comes back to Florida, but I don't know. We'll have to see what happens right there. I just think that he needs a new contract with the Senators, and he's from that area. And for Drake Batherson, I wouldn't trade Drake Batherson. You're in the wild card situation. Keep them. I don't like why teams want to trade when they're in a wild card position, trying to upgrade, and then when they find out, like, oh, that was a mistake. A lot of idiots get fired over these situations. And then with Peter Mrazek, Peter Mrazek, the Blackhawks want to give him away for free, but the extra year in the contract, they are very hesitant. Teams are hesitant. But if a team needs a goaltender for the short term, oh yeah, I'd take him. But it's a hazard. It's a hazard right now. Then you got Charlie Coyle and Morgan Geekie. The Bruins are in downward spiral. They are in a downward spiral. I would be very concerned, and I would personally keep them, but are you really sure that you're going to get some of those guys in return? I would personally keep those two on the team. And then you got Anders Lee and John Gabriel Pagel on the trade block. The Islanders, they're thinking about rebuild if they can't get Brock Nelson re-signed. And then we've got Radko Gudas returning to the Florida Panthers. I don't know if that is viable. I don't know about that one. It would be nice you get some physicality, but it's a maybe. I would go with a maybe on that one. And then on the Islanders also we're talking about Tony DeAngelo and Adam Boomquist trading both of them and get something in return. The Islanders are still somewhat in it, but they need some players in the long term return. And then you've got the Minnesota Wild trying to make some interesting ideas, trading John Merrow, Luco, Chelson, and Kuznetsov. I mean, Minnesota, those three guys could definitely go to Vancouver for Brock Besser. But who knows? Who knows at this point? Who knows at this point? All right. So this is it. This has been 2 Minutes in the Box with Gordo. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow on Instagram, YouTube, Rumble, X, Facebook, True Social, etc., and TikTok. We'll be back here tomorrow live, 10 a.m. for 2 Minutes in the Box with Gordo for the trade deadline special. Have a great day, everybody, and keep up with the hockey.